Hey everybody! In this video, we're going to be restoring this antique quarter sawn oak table.
Most furniture made prior to 1970 was a lot better quality than today's standards. Have a family heirloom or doing a furniture flip? Let us help you with that. Give your furniture some love.
I have a client that brought this table to me. They just inherited from their relatives. It's a pretty neat table. It's all quarter sawn oak on the top. It has been refinished many times. It looks like it might have some polyurethane on that. I'll have to get off. Here's the base to it. As you can see, it's got one crack right here running down the side, and the bottom plate has split apart, so I'll have to repair that. The table came with 4 leaf extensions. As you can see on these two, there's some wood missing and some shrinkage cracks. On this one, you can see it's had a patch put on some point on the underside. So those will have to be repaired as well and get those refinished and working. I went ahead and removed the bottom cover to expose the crack from the inside. As you can see, the crack, it opens up pretty much most of the way down the tube. So it looks like it's a nice clean crack, and when you put a clamp on it, it does seem to pull it together pretty tight. So what I'll have to do is just work some fresh hide glue all the way down through that crack and then put a clamp on it. Okay, I got the tube all clamped up. It looks like I got a nice squeeze out, which is good. So now I just need to get a wet rag and wipe off this extra glue and let it dry. The base plate on this is split apart, and it's probably shrunk just a little bit. As you can see, the joint has been apart for a little while. What I need to do is run these 2 edges through my joiner to square them up, and I may have to add a strip of wood in between the 2 when I glue it back together to make up for the shrinkage. Okay, to get the measurements back to where they were originally, I have cut a strip of wood to add between the 2 pieces. Since I lost some wood trimming the edges, squaring them off, also from the shrinkage over the years. So we'll get that glued back together, and I'll trim off the excess of that strip after the glue is dried. For the first repair on this leaf, I've used a flat file to cut back the damage, and from there I will splice in a piece of new oak with some glue and cut off the excess. And here's the finished repair with the piece spliced in. And here's the bottom plate reattached. Okay, we're ready to strip this piece. We have our container to put the stripper in and our brush. We have our scrape putty knife. I like to round the corners on these to keep it from scarring the furniture. We have our stripper gloves. And we also have our good eye protection. The rags I use is just recycled terry cloth towels I cut up. That works real good for stripping because all the little nubbies in there gets down in the good crevices. I have lacquer thinner for doing the rinse, and the semi-paste stripper I use is a methylene chloride based stripper. This will burn your skin and have some fumes, but it is the most effective on working on removing these finishes. It'll remove most finishes and paint. There are some safer strippers out there, but they just don't work as effectively. I do recommend some good ventilation wherever you're working with this product, especially the fumes from the lacquer thinner. You can't have any open flames or anything like that. So do it outdoors or in a garage, usually the best thing to do. For starters, I'm going to use this metal wood scraper to try to scrape as much off as I can. The finish hasn't adhered very well due to some contaminants in the wood. It looks like it might have some oils seeped into it. Hopefully that doesn't cause any finishing problems for me when I go to refinish it. But we'll try to get it flooded real good with the lacquer thinner, get it rinsed out real good, try to pull some of that contaminants out of the wood. So let's get stripping. Okay, I got the first coat of stripper on. It's been sitting there for about 5 minutes or so. You don't want it to dry on there. You want to keep it wet as long as you can to do the job. So from here, I'll scrape off as much as I can and see what I have. Okay, we'll get it down the end here and we'll just scrape it off into this drywall container so we can discard it after it is dried. Alright, you can see this is our ugly goop that we scraped off. Put that aside because we'll be scraping some more off the perimeter and on the leaves and on the base. So, next step is to use some lacquer thinner to wipe it down. And we'll put some good, give it a good flooding. Try to pull some of that oil contaminants out of that wood as best we can. Some of that finish is still down in the wood. I may need to do a second application of stripper. Okay, I've applied 2 coats of stripper to this and scraped off what I could. As you can see, there's still some finish left in the wood, on top of the wood. I'm assuming this is some sort of polyurethane. Looks like what I'm going to have to do next to get the rest of this finish off is to manually sand it off with a sander.
No!
That will take a little bit longer than anticipated, but that's the only thing I have left in my arsenal to take that down. Well, I have it all sanded now. I sanded it down with 80 grit sandpaper, get off the rest of the finish, and then I followed up with 220 grit and finished sanding by hand with 220 to eliminate the swirls. Man, that was a lot of sanding. The next step is to apply a vinyl sealer to the wood to seal it down. And once that's dry, I will apply a grain filler to the wood, which will fill the pores of the wood and give it some color. Here's the wood with the one coat of sealer applied. The grain filler will add more color to it as it fills the pores. Here's the grain filler that I'm going to use. It's a medium walnut color made by Mohawk. It's about the consistency of peanut butter. Smearing it on. You just brush it into the pores and then wipe off the excess. And here's what the color looks like after adding the grain filler. You can see it's quite a lot darker than the one without the grain filler. So this gets me the color that I'm wanting to achieve. Okay, the grain's all filled now and it's dried 24 hours. And this morning I came back with a naphtha on a rag to remove any excess residue. So this table is ready to start adding lacquer to it. I will apply 4 to 5 coats of this lacquer, sanding in between coats with 400 grit wet or dry sandpaper. The reveal. And here's the finished table with a satin lacquer finish on it. Have the drop down legs back installed. You kind of need those when all 4 leaves are put in. Turned out pretty good. So I'm pleased how it turned out. And here's the 4 leaves. And then the table base. It all turned out pretty great. Thanks for watching my first table video. If you enjoyed it or learned something, please hit the like button. To see all of our future videos coming down through the pipeline, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Give your furniture some love.
For hard to find hardware like these, check us out at AnniesHomeStore.com.